everybody, my name is Melissa and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about the books that I want to reread in 2022. This is the first video in my end of the year book series, and this is one that I feel like I really want to actually accomplish. So I, of course, have several different books to talk about. Some of these are rereads because one, I just absolutely love them. Two, I need to reread the first one so I can continue on with this series, and maybe a mixture of both. So I have a couple books to talk about, so let's go ahead and get started. The very first book that I want to talk about is actually the first book in the Planet Barbarians series by Ruby Dixon. This is the first book that kind of like went viral about smutty books with blue aliens. I read this back in 2019. I feel like when people were first starting to read Ruby Dixon series on BookTube, I feel like this was the year for it on Book Talk. But that being said, Lourdes from Chapters We Love, she gifted me the special editions book that Berkeley Romance ended up publishing. I am so excited to read this. This cover is absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed this. Again, like I said, it's about a blue alien smutty book. Our main character, she's basically kidnapped. She finds herself waking up on this spaceship, and they're traveling to go to some planet. Basically, it's not a good situation for the women who are there. They crash land on this planet, and she has to figure out how to survive and help these women survive. They run into these group of blue aliens, and crazy things happen from there. So if you are interested in something that's a little bit out there, a little bit crazy, and don't mind like putting off, you know, the reality of the situation, this is a really fun book series to get into. I am currently only on the third book. I'm literally in the middle of it, but it was so much fun to read the first two for sure. Another romance book that I want to reread, I want to reread the whole series again, and that is Cruel Black Hearts by Candace Wandrak. So if you watched any of my what are they called, reverse harem book series or book videos that I've done, this is one that I feel like I talk about quite a bunch, even in some like dark romance book recommendations that I've done. This is about a girl who is obsessed with serial killers. She works for a newspaper, but she also has an online blog where she basically deep dives into like serial killers. So by doing so and putting herself out there on the internet and talking about that, she attracts said serial killers. And this is about one girl and three guys, and two of them are good friends, one of them is not. I'm very like, I remember loving this book so much. I read it again back in 2019, and the third book ended up coming out on my me and my husband's, like when we eloped. So I remember reading it on the plane. It kind of like got me out of my head while being stuck on an 8-hour plane ride. So it was definitely something that I have really fond memories of reading the first couple books. I think the first two are the strongest. The third one was okay, and they ended up coming out with a fourth book. But there's other books that this author has written that are in this same kind of like universe. So the characters cross paths or have similar, like they are connected in some way. So I think that's really awesome. Another romance book is going to be Wait For It by Mariana Zapata. Literally, I think I put this on my want to reread books back a couple years ago, and of course I am that person that never ended up rereading it. But now that I have the physical copy, I don't have any excuse not to get back into it. So I just read Culty by Mariana Zapata. I know that some of the characters from that end up popping up and making an appearance in this one. This was the first Mariana Zapata book that I ever read. I loved it, fell in love with the characters. She writes that slow burn. This is a neighbor, like hate to love kind of romance, and there's two children in this book that I love. The main character, her brother ends up passing away, and she becomes the guardian of two young children, and she has to obviously kind of like figure out what she's gonna do, how to raise these kids, and her neighbor ends up, you know, becoming a big part of her life. And I just, oh my god, the characters in this book, I normally don't like children in my book series, but this was done so well, and I feel like it's a very underrated Mariana Zapata book. So of course I needed to add this one because it's been a little while since I read the first one, and the second book is coming out here next year, and that is the House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I read this book, I think 2020, loved it. I think I read it before lockdown, if I'm not mistaken, and I sped through this book and I don't at all remember like major plot points. I remember kind of some big scene at the end and maybe a couple pieces in between here and there, but I feel like if I just dive into the second book that's supposed to be coming out next year, I'm just going to be totally lost and confused about what's going on because it's been so long since I've read this book, and this is a chunky one. So I definitely really want to reread this book before I dive into the second one. It was really fast paced. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed the very slow burn romance that happens in this. I think there was like, I think I remember specifically like page 500 was like a hug or like a kiss or something ridiculous like that, and I was like, really? I waited 500 pages for this? But I was hooked and I loved it. So I really want to reread this book to continue on with the series. One of my favorite books from last year of 2020 was The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. T.J. Klune writes these emotional, heart-wrenching books that just give you all the feels, like good moments, bad moments, happy moments, sad moments, all of these like emotions that you can probably picture, and this author can deliver that to you. I love this book. The audiobook is even more spectacular. I think that the narrator did a just fabulous job, you know, bringing all of the characters to life. This is about a man who, what does he do? He's a caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. Basically, he's a very lonely man, kind of just lives for his job, and he gets assigned to go to this house that is kind of far away from where he lives, and he has to decide and make reports on if this house should still, you know, be in existence or if they need to shut it down. This book is about finding yourself and being true to who you are, and oh my gosh, the like children in this story are just so sweet. Shaughnessy is my favorite character by far in this whole book, and like I just love this. I cried, I had happy, you know, tears. I was just living while I read this book. I think I even like was vlogging during this time. Oh my god, so good. So if you like audiobooks, definitely check this one out. Even if you don't, check this book out. So good. So one of the books that I need to reread in order to continue on with the duology is Warcross by Marie Lu. I remember reading this and absolutely adoring it. It has that kind of VR or like you go into a game kind of thing. Like I don't remember too much about this because I think I read it right when it came out, and I remember loving it, and I remember not a lot of other people loved it, but I thought it was full of action. There was like this whole subplot mystery that was going on, and the very end was kind of like a big surprise to myself. I don't know, but it's a YA book, and I ended up picking up Wild Card, which is the second and final book in this duology, and I don't remember at all what happened in the first, so I need to reread it so I can get to the second one. And the very last book that I need to reread is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kimmerer. I read this book, loved it. I like flew through this YA fantasy story, this Beauty and the Beast retelling. I loved the representation in this book from the main character. I forgot what she has, but I just remember her being a super strong female character that I adored and was rooting for the entire time. There are some side characters, and I think that that's what this book is about, A Heart So Fierce and Broken. And then I think there's a third book that I don't even own that I need to get to. So I need to reread this so I can finally pick up this one and then continue on with the series. But yeah, I just remember this being a really great retelling and I really loved it. Okie dokie, and that is it for the books that I want to reread in 2020. If you've read any of these books or have any thoughts or opinions, I would love to chat about it and talk about it in the comments down below. And I hope you have a wonderful day and happy reading. Bye.